Good evening, I'm NorseTyr. Welcome to my channel if you've not watched before. This is going to be a very different video for me. Normally I record Let's Plays of 4X strategy games, so European Universalis, Stellaris, things like that. Today I'm going to go and have a look at my first 6 weeks as a streamer. I've been looking a lot, chatting to my mates, looking a lot at Twitter, and one of the things that I've found is that there seems to be a lot of, not misconceptions, but I don't think people really realise how much work it is, and I think I can maybe offer some insights into pitfalls to avoid and just how much work it is, really. The other thing is, I was quite surprised by how bad some of the stats about Twitter are. So I'm obviously going to talk about stats as well. So without further ado, here we go. Right. I like stats, so I should say right up front, I'm a scientist. I love data, so I've been keeping a spreadsheet, which we can find here. So this is the sort of thing I keep. So for instance, you can see I streamed for about 28 hours in my first week. You can see some weeks it's been more, some weeks it's been less. Happy to go through all sorts of brutal numbers. I'll try and summarize these though, rather than going through all the brutal details here. So, and I've just said I feel that some of the Twitch stats are a little bit out of date. So the most up-to-date one that I can find on the first few pages of Google's one from Influencer Marketing Hub, which seems to be largely based on a syndicated blog post from a site called Much Needed in 2018. So where do you sit? Now, it's worth bearing this in mind. There's 9.9, they estimate 9.9 million channels with 2.2 million broadcasters each month, of whom you've got they don't quote the number of non-partners, but they quote 220,000 affiliates and 27,000 partners. Just worth bearing in mind, there are other sites out there, so you can go and have a look yourself. And I found a particularly good one called Sullyno. Link is down below. So, for instance, I had a quick look at some of the stats. So, quarter one, quarter two. Well, the first half of this year, they already had 8.7 million streams. And the thing that clued me in here was they had 31,000 partners there, which, given the previous stats available, seemed a little bit dodge. Other thing to bear in mind is I'm streaming several times a week, so it's nice to see what your competition's doing as well. Suffice it to say, with 1.5 million people, you're going to have to do a little bit to stand out. And here is my summary. So I think probably the widely quoted stats are a little bit out of date now. Or Sullynome is completely wrong, but of all of the statistics websites, and I've looked at quite a few, Sullynome seems to have the best one. So when you go down to a small channel like mine, it's got the details right. When I've looked at a few streamers who I follow regularly, it's got those details right. So I trust these. So, you are dealing with 11.5 million channels, of whom 10.5 are non-partners. So that people like me who are just on the route to affiliate. You've got nearly, 900,000 affiliates, 33,000 partners, and an awful lot of broadcasters. But it's worth knowing this in advance. If you're streaming for fun, doesn't really matter. If you're streaming for a career, brace yourself for a bit of a slog. And just to put that in another way, so these images are lifted straight off of Sullynome, so you can go on there and have a play yourself if you want. This was Twitch in the last week, so I started recording this video on July the 4th, so happy Independence Day, Americans. And you can see the vast majority of people who stream are streaming to less than 5 viewers, including actually an awful lot of affiliates, which surprised me. Although bear in mind that the 3.5, it's 3 average viewers is the line for affiliate in Twitch, so, that's possible. That's possible while still maintaining your status. So an awful lot of us, we're all in the same boat. I guess that's what I'm trying to say here. Those of us who don't operate above 5, actually, far from being the exception, we're the rule. Same data put it a different way. So now we're looking at followers along the bottom, and we have the number on the top. Not too surprising that the non-partners have less followers. Affiliates have more. And then if you've got really, really, really good eyesight, you can see that the partners down here up to 250,000. It was pretty good. 250,000 followers isn't bad. Quite surprising. So 50 followers is the requirement for affiliate. And well, as you see, 480,000 channels, 32% had less than 50 followers. Actually, you've got some non-partners with up to certainly over 1,000 followers. So non-affiliates. That's bonkers. Don't know why. Maybe they're just doing it for fun. And actually, you've got some affiliates with less than 50 followers. So you know that. Oh, in fact, if you look really carefully, I think there's one or two there with less than 25. So it sounds like it could be a bit of a tough game, this. So as we go through, I've talked a lot about stats, but I'm going to drill down to these 5 simple ones. Average viewers over 30 days for Twitch. Well, that's what you need to be an affiliate. It needs to be 30. It needs to be an average of 3. Total number of follows in Twitch needs to be 50 for affiliate. Followers in Twitter. Subs on YouTube. The bar's a bit higher here. You need 1,000 subs before you can monetize. I think that's kind of a very nice dream for me at the moment. And hours watched, which again, you need 4,000 hours. So there's pretty serious bars. One thing I would say that I think this is something on Twitter, and not so much on Twitch, but certainly all the people who are active on Twitter, they don't seem to appreciate this. The three stats in the middle: follows on Twitch, followers on Twitter, subs on YouTube. These are really easy things to give. I can go onto someone's channel, click, done. The average viewers an hour on Twitch and the hours watched on YouTube, those are hard. If you think of Twitch, let's say my average is creeping up towards 3 a day now, and I stream 10 times over a month. That's 30 people I need watching me, giving me their time. If you break it down, that's an awful lot of people. Same with your hours watched. You're not going to sit down and watch 3 hours of a stream if you think it's a pile of crap on YouTube, are you? So these are much, much harder to get. You're not going to be able to fake these. You have to be producing content that people like. So, my week 0, one thing that's worth saying is some things can be a little bit fiddly at the beginning. So I have a good laptop, and in fact I will link. I've got a video on my Twitter. I'll link it down below. You can see my setup, but everything else is really quite cheap. So the last thing I was expecting was laptop problems. So I did quite a few test streams just to make sure that I knew what I was doing beforehand. And it turns out that the Lenovo Legion has a setting which prioritizes gaming. That's good. It's a gaming laptop. The problem is, it also prioritizes bandwidth for the games, even if you're not using the internet. And so as a streamer, that is a big problem. So, spend a bit of time. So, oh man, yeah, I've just seen the note again, ISP. I called my internet service provider. I reinstalled Windows. I was plugging bits in and out everywhere. And it just turns out it was one click box. Once I knew what I was doing, one click box. On the flip side, I'm quite lucky in the UK. My area, I live in a place called Swansea, my area was a trial area for super fast broadband. So the box is literally at the end of my road. So I have very, very good upload speeds, things like that. Do use what you have. For the reasons mentioned before, there's an awful lot of people streaming. Don't spend huge amounts of money on your stream setup, because you're probably not going to make it back. And if you do, it might take a while to. If you want to spend money for other reasons, like I want to have a good laptop because I love playing games, that's very different. But don't spend huge amounts of money, because you are not going to make it back, and certainly not going to make it back quick. And also, and this applies for me, it may apply to you as well, be real about your time. I have a full-time job. It's quite intellectually challenging. I'm a scientist. So sometimes I'm burnt out. Sometimes I have to work in the evenings. And the other thing to say about me is I'm used to working a lot of evenings. So when I'm not working, I also get involved with knocking on doors to discuss politics. I won't go into the details here, that's not the point. But I'm not averse to coming home from work and going out for 3 hours talking to people about the joys of politics. So I'm coming into it with that mentality. I'm happy to come home from work and stream for 3 hours. But even still, as I'll talk about later, you've got to be realistic about what you can do. So, what did I do? So this is week 1. So I got, bearing in mind I hadn't gone onto Twitter or YouTube at this stage, I got 3 follows. Nice. And 1.1 average viewers, which, you know, is okay. It's worth saying a few things, though. I streamed every day for 9 days. So this is the first 9 days, which is why some of the stats don't match with the week. And 30.5 hours, that is a lot of streaming on top of a full-time job and other commitments like chores. And the first week I got 3, and I picked up another couple of followers soon after. You know, and that was fun, but man, was it tiring. So the return felt a bit low. So in the second week, I thought, no, I can't keep up this. It's unsustainable. I had a good long think. And my week 2 stats showed steady growth. What you might spot here, though, is that I now have 2 Twitter followers. Thank you to those 2 Twitter followers, you wonderful people. A YouTube sub and some hours watched. Again, thank you guys, wonderful. And you'll also see that I got steady growth on my Twitch as well. So my average viewership went up, my follows went up, all good stuff. But actually, I achieved all that growth on Twitch with 11.5 hours of streaming. And what I did was I actually spent the rest of the time that week thinking, planning, looking at YouTube guides. Speaking of which, I am more than happy. If you think it would be helpful, if you're enjoying this sort of content, please put a comment below, because I'm happy to do a new streamer's guide to new streamers, or a new streamer's guide for new streamers. I'm not the most professional streamer, but hopefully I'm so close to the coalface that I know all of the mistakes. If you think that would be useful, do comment, because this is completely different content from my usual channel. It takes a lot longer to make, and I'm pouring a lot more of myself into it, so I really do want to know that it's valued by the community. And yes, I launched my YouTube and Twitter. One thing that everyone seems to universally agree on is that Twitch is a very, very difficult stream to find new streamers on. And I play relatively small games. If you're playing something like Fortnite, this is going to be more true. I'd also say thanks very much to a guy called HenryHardyLive. People will often talk about Twitch networking. So Henry Hardy's just someone, is a really good guy. We've been in and out of each other's streams. He's a bit bigger than me. And he came in with a raid, and it was really, really good. So I'm giving a shout out to HenryHardyLive. I will put a link down below. I should warn you all, though, that his channel's gone a little bit quiet the last week or so, so hopefully he comes back to streaming, but he may not. But as he's helped me, I'm going to help him. His link's down below. Followers. This is one of my parts of thinking. So my first 11 followers. Again, this is something, if you do a little bit of ferreting around on the internet about growing a channel, this is a really important chart. So my first 11 followers, these 11, I could be absolutely certain where they all came from. And actually, you notice quite quickly, I had more followers come offline than I did come online. And just drilling into the detail of this a little bit. So I had a few streamers come in from my Europa Universalis 4, that's one of the games. I had one streamer, come in on my Stellaris streams, who incidentally was a really good follower. Then I had one come in from Twitch networking, just chatting to someone about Stellaris, helping them with the game. Got chatting about the fact I streamed. They followed. And Twitter, within about 24 hours, I had my first Twitch follower from Twitter. So it turns out that I was commenting on a game called Ascension. It's a collectible card game. And somebody really liked one of my comments. We had a brief chat. He realised I was a streamer and he followed me. And I followed him back. Really great. But the elephant in the room is this massive pile here. And these are from my friends. So it is worth remembering that I'm a geek. My friends are geeks. And as it turns out, lots of them were already on Twitch. So I just talked to my friends about what I was doing and asked them for a bit of support. And I think it's really, really helpful at the beginning to know that you've got 1 or 2 people coming into your stream who are there for you. and it was a support for me. Now those friends have gradually dropped away as the weeks have gone on, because maybe my content isn't their thing or whatever. But right at the beginning, when I really needed those numbers, they were there for me. So do ask your friends, do ask your family. And another thing you hear a lot on the various tutorial channels is never stream to 0 people. And this is exactly why I asked my friends. So I think my first follower was my little brother, who happens to like the same sort of games. Don't be precious about this. When you're on 0 followers, 1 follower is the most amazing thing in the world. Fortunately, I'm no longer on 0, but I still so thankful. Now, week 3 is where the stats start to get a bit interesting. So for the most part, you can see fairly good organic growth, more followers, another sub on YouTube, hours watched, 2.5 hours, doesn't sound like much, but how many times would you watch 2.5 hours of something you didn't enjoy? So, but I want to just highlight down here, the average viewers over 30 days dropped, even though my followers went up. And this goes back to the point about following is easy, watching the content is not. So even though I got loads of extra followers, it didn't translate into more views. And I've got a few things I can show you about that. So it was a rocky week. So the good news was I spent plenty of time planning, watching YouTube guides. I've mentioned the new streamers one. That's fine. One thing I'm trying to do is constantly slightly improve my channel. So for instance, I added a sound gate to my microphone because I like to go ha 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 a lot, and I don't want to deafen people when I do it. And also that p p p p sound. It helps to clean up the sound a little bit for everyone. And I uploaded loads of streams to YouTube. But the big problem was Twitch was a bit of a disaster. So I had 3 bad streams for various reasons. And you've got to be realistic here. If you are not producing good content for whatever reason, or if your content is just a little bit worse than something else that's going on, your average viewership will drop. And that's just the way it is. So, for instance, I managed to mute my mic for the first hour of one of my streams. I mean, I was so embarrassed. And it really did take more than an hour for one of the people popping into chat to actually say muted. That was it. There were 5 or 6 people came in before somebody took the time to tell me I was muted. Don't mute your camera. Don't mute your microphone. It happens, but I've been very, very careful since not to repeat it. My regular Sunday stream happened to I stream at 8 PM on a Sunday. I try and do that religiously, but it happened to clash with a massive multiplayer of the same game. And I have to be honest, I was watching the multiplayer. It was a whole weekend. I was watching the multiplayer. It was really good. I can't compete with, 24 really, really good streamers who've been streaming for years. So I had to accept that my average viewership was going to be a little bit lower for that stream. But I've told people I'm going to stream, so I streamed. And then the third one, this is kind of up to you. For me, I think I'm going to review how I do this now. I streamed a game called FTL. Really, really good indie game. Brilliant game. But it's very, very quiet. And so I was mostly streaming to myself. I made that cardinal sin. And those low average views are still damaging me, my 30-day average, because they hang around. Is that a problem? It depends why you're streaming. If you're streaming purely for fun, who cares? But I would like the option of being an affiliate. I might not make it, but I would like the option of being an affiliate. So I have to be a little bit more thoughtful about what I do with smaller games like that, or games that I'm not known for. Maybe, for instance, the next time I play FTL, I put it straight to YouTube, so that content can still contribute, but it doesn't drag down the average in Twitch. Now, here we go. In terms of stats, I'm just going to flick to the back end of Twitch now. So here is what the back end of Twitch looks like. So this is mine. You can see 1.8 average viewers. Look at how bad that first week was. This is when I was just testing. I wasn't even trying to get viewers. I was testing the quality of my streams, downloading the videos, watching them back. Got there in the end. And then this was Hell Week here. So this was the FTL view. This was the FTL stream, small game that I wasn't known for. And I made the cardinal sin of streaming to 0 viewers. This one here is the one that clashed with the multiplayers. So you can see it's not horrifically damaging, but it is lower than most of the stuff around it. And then the very next stream was the muting one. Now, I still got people to join later on because thankfully one of my more regular viewers came in and told me. But let's be blunt, that was not good. But overall, you can see like stats like this up here. How humbling is that? People have watched me for 11,000 minutes. That's a lot. And you can see more recently, my average is coming up. Got a nice stable setup. I enjoy it. I've got some regulars coming into the channel. They know when I'm coming on and they trust that I'm going to be there. Oh, incidentally, do follow my Twitch if you're enjoying this. I'm a bit below affiliate, so a few extra follows would be really lovely. Link is down below. And yeah, if you're a stats geek, there's so much stuff in the back end of Twitch. You could go mad. So, for instance, you could look at my last stream. So I've come back to record a few extra bits and pieces. You can see here, you know, I'm getting a pretty solid 3, 4. Bear in mind, at the very beginning of streams, it takes people a little while to come on, know you're there. So you never get 100 viewers at the beginning. I'd quite like 100 viewers at all, actually. So you can see 3, 4, but yeah, you know, 3-ish. You can see the affiliate coming. You can see the average building, and there's just a million stats. It's just look, stats everywhere. Stats. But the average viewers is probably the key one. That's the key one, I think, for me. The followers are coming, but keeping those people there for your content takes a bit more time. Right, let's flick back to the presentation. Woomph. So it was a rocky week. I've highlighted all of these. So week 4. I'm not going to go into every single week in brutal detail, but you can see, again, just a little bit of growth. Twitch was a bit slower. My YouTube started to get a little bit more traction, which was nice. And, oh yeah, why did it do that? Because I spent nearly 8 hours uploading all of my old streams to YouTube and making the channel look nice. Week 5. Again, you know, just organic growth here, really. My average viewership's coming up. Bearing in mind, I've got that, still got that 0.1 dragging things down. But it's coming. But the reason one thing I want to talk about in week 5 is this hashtag small streamers on Twitter. So this is when I discovered small streamers. And this thing called follow trains and things like that. I thought, you know what, I'll try it just to see what happens, see if it results in average viewers, which is what I actually want. And I've got to say, although I've followed 2 or 3 really good people by doing that, and who I'm still going to keep following, the honest truth is that most people don't actually refollow. I can tell you that because I did check everyone. And I don't think, anyway, all of that farting around and faffing around with follow trains influenced my numbers as much as another raid from Henry Hardy. So, again, his link's down below. I hope he starts streaming again. And follower trains look something like this. Self-promo time. And you just have to think about what this ask is for a minute. So basically, someone's asking you to come on and basically give them something for free. They're not saying, my content is amazing. They're not saying, oh man, I just dropped my best video ever. Please have a look. It's so cool. They're basically saying, follow each other, la la la, and profit. I think this is crap. Because, one, for both YouTube and Twitch, they've wised up to this. They don't monetize you based on follow account or subscribers. They monetize you based on follow account, subscribers, and hours watched, or average hours watched in the case of Twitch. And it takes time, and you could be better spending that time having a cup of tea or going into someone else's stream and learning how they do their thing. Still, I did it, I tried it. Just to mention to you, I think it's a pitfall. I'd probably avoid it in the future. The other thing is it also clutters up your Twitter feed with posts like this. And it's like, ugh, just make better videos. Now, week 6, actually this week, was very special for me. So again, Twitch, yeah, it's growing, that's nice, you know, it's good. Twitter, again, it's growing, that's good. But what happened for me was, you can see, suddenly, I had 33.8 extra hours of watching on my YouTube. That's mad. It's like Somebody giving up a day and a half? Who does that? And it's a real validation that I'm producing at least some content that's good enough. And again, note it was my lowest hours streamed because work was really, really busy. So I just did my core hours, Wednesdays at 8, Sunday midday, Sunday 8 in the evening. That was it. And what took off on YouTube was my content that I'd made especially for YouTube. Yeah, unbelievable that somebody would be watching me for 50 hours playing games. Mad. And again, in the back end of YouTube, you've got stats, and you can see 10 hours on the Sunday, the 28th, I think it was, maybe the 28th. 10 hours of people watching me, and in fact, just to show you more live what the YouTube looks like, you have something like this. So here is, ta-da, the same thing. You notice spike at weekends, spike at weekend, spike at weekend. Where are we? The Sunday here, spike at weekend. But this week it just never really went down. So it's really humbling. Not been quite so good since, I shall grant you, but nonetheless, I don't care. This was a real validation, and you can see, actually, 2 people have had a look at my channel this evening. Thank you very much, whoever you 2 are. And there's all sorts of crazy bonkers stats you can get in here. Views, subscribers. One other thing that's worth having a quick look at is engagement. The average view duration. So, my YouTube videos are 20 minutes to half an hour long. My streams are 3 or 4 hours, and I'm more or less uploading them whole at the minute, so I'm going to have a bit of a think. Because the honest truth is, very few people are watching my videos for more than about 20 minutes. These are averages, so we know that some will be watching for longer. But you know, you've got to make a bit of a decision. And you can also see top video, playthrough for beginners, playthrough for beginners, playthrough for beginners. So these are things you've got to really think about for your channel. And then finally, whoop, back to the diary. Oh yeah, more recently, humbling. So I'm still blown away by the fact that 3 people would spend their time, and it goes on. So I'm still ploughing on. So that's really it as far as talking about the stats and talking about the diary goes. So if you are enjoying this, please like it. Please subscribe to my channel. As I've said, it only takes a click. But the main one is comment below. I'm happy to keep doing this sort of content, but it takes a lot of time, and I put a lot more of myself into this. So I'd just like to know people are enjoying it. Other than that, I've been NorseTyr. Thank you so much for your time, and hopefully I'll see you on Twitch or in the comments below.